Hello everyone, welcome to another classic Boardroom Bloods. And today we've got the pleasure of speaking to Aeon Lattie. Right, here we are, wonderful Aeon. Tell us a little bit about your job role for those that don't know it here at Droylsden.
What I can tell you is I started here as a player. I started here in 1992.
Wow.
I came in as a centre forward and quickly kind of worked my way back. I played in every position, barring goalkeeper for the club. I think the worst one was probably 18 months at left back. Long time, long career, and a one-man club, really.
How did it come about joining Droylsden? Of course, 1992 is the incision of the Premier League as well, so we're going way, way back, 33 years. I mean, what first connected you to Droylsden?
I was playing in local football, Lancashire and Cheshire League.
Played there myself, but anyway.
Yeah. There's a key guy, we've lost him now, but Hughie Todd. And there's another guy called Denzel Hart, who kind of took me on when I was younger. But Hughie, we used to call him, I called him my white dad, because he was around Droylsden all the time, close to Dave, helped the club when we really had nothing. Used to talk about Hughie and his black book. So he had a black book, he had every name of everyone in there. So Hughie at the time, I think Droylsden was probably struggling coming towards the end of the season. And then Hughie brought me in. I think I came in on the February. Made my debut against Frickley away and scored. Probably should have had a hat-trick on the day. But yeah, scored and collected my first wages of £20.
Excellent. I mean, people forget people like Hughie are so instrumental in a lot of players' lives. They're all over the football network, of course. And I mean, how many players did he actually help out, Hughie, apart from yourself? Was he just a complete enigma?
We couldn't name it. I couldn't name how many, but he's here for a very long time, very knowledgeable in non-league football. One of those iconic guys, from way back, real character as well. I think everyone around here will remember Hughie Todd. Yeah.
So in 1992, which particular league were Droylsden in at the time? You said they were struggling.
Oh boy, I'm not even sure. The names have changed so much. I can't even remember some of the names of the league, but I think it might be in, what was it called? I couldn't even tell you.
I mean,
off the top of
we're in
my head,
the ninth tier now, aren't we? Sort of, if you want to go through the football pyramid. So, were you closer to the National League, or are you similar to where we are now?
No. Definitely close to the National League. I mean, we've kind of hovered around what they may call the Northern Prem. So I'd say it was around that particular era and that particular time, yeah.
Excellent stuff. So, has it been unbroken service apart from obviously a little bit of a stop for around COVID times, or have you been other places as well?
Yeah, I left the club twice. Once I left, new manager came in, I think it was Tommy Lawson at the time. Tommy Lawson managed here many years ago. And I went to Flixton. I think I lasted 2 games at Flixton. And then at the time, Dalton Steele, the manager, came to Droylsden, so I came back with him. And the second time, I think I left for probably 1 or 2 games. Just kind of fell out with the manager at the time. I think they thought I was a little bit too close to Dave. They probably thought I was like an inside mole giving information back. Because me and Dave had that tight relationship. And I think it's the only time I ever wanted Droylsden to lose a game. And they went away and we lost. I think it was 6-1 or 7-1. Fiery Dave then sacks the manager, and I'm back. And I think I've been back since.
So what was your first meeting with Dave like, the great Dave Pace?
Well, Dave was here as the chairman. I was here as a player. I think I was here slightly before Dave. And Dave came in, and once Dave came in, things just started moving. He had big ambitions. He always had big ambitions. If you remember the club from way back, there was nothing here basically. And, testament to Dave, one-man band, he's put his money where his mouth is.
Well, we're coming up to 30 years of Dave, 1996, when he first sort of
Wow.
really trod the boards here. So you mentioned you were a striker. Other positions you played in, and maybe a favourite position you might have had during your playing career?
If I'm being honest, most people probably remember me for playing centre-back. I've played with some great, professional players. I've played with Arthur Albiston. He played left-back while I was playing at centre-back. The Futcher brothers, Ron and Paul Futcher. Paul Futcher learned so much from him. Good friend of mine at the time was Dave Ashton, played with Dave Ashton there. He's now a policeman. I can tell you a story about that. He pulled me over. I said, "Why have you pulled me over?" He said, "Oh, I've seen the number plate on your car." So there's only one Aeon Lattie. So he's pulled me over in the middle of rush hour traffic. And I started jumping on his back, PC Dave Ashton, and I'm jumping on his back, buses going past, wondering what's going on here. It was absolutely hilarious, but great times with people like them.
Amazing stuff. I've also read in the notes that you were 47 and you played a game as well. Is that right?
Oh, that was one game at 47, and if I remember rightly, I think I got sent off. I've only ever been sent off twice. Little James here turned me on the halfway line, got a little hold of my jumper. I tugged him back. Referee didn't really see it, sent me off. Next minute, Little James, he's playing at Man United, against Man United in the FA Cup. That was the next game he was playing. And at 47, I got sent off. It was the last game of the season. I can't remember the team we were playing. We were down south somewhere. And again, it was just too quick for me. He turned me,
So that was it. You thought 47, I've been sent off. Yeah. That's it. I'm not doing this anymore. Or
it was like
the lighting moment.
Yeah, like I said, it was a couple of lads didn't turn up last game of the season. Nothing to play for. I think I was out the night before, at some birthday party, and we're short, and I've had to go in at centre half. I think I'd done well up to about the hour mark, and then, the little tired legs comes in, don't they?
And of course, all the youngsters running around here. I'm still playing, not at your level, obviously, but I'm still playing at my age, and I understand that it's try to chase after these 23-year-olds all the skills and the tricks. Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to Droylsden currently at the moment. Mm-hmm. So the club sort of broke down for a year or two, got back together in 23-24. Mm-hmm. What was your role when the club came back in the Nwcfl counties?
Pretty much the same thing, coming back, assisting Dave. We said we're going to form again. I think the break was great. Around COVID, we all left. Probably had a little bit of downtime. I went and got an allotment. It's the only place you could get out during COVID. Had a few years, of doing that, and then we said the club's coming back. I've never seen anything like it. On the first trial session we put on, we had about 140 turned up.
I mean, how on earth do you sift through 140, 150 players to get it down to a squad of 22, 23? How do you do that?
I don't know how we did it, but basically, I remember me and Dave sat there just writing names, telephone numbers, and positions down. We just played, 10, 15 minutes of football. And it's just a case of, if you see something, you can spot bits and bobs in players, like control the ball, can you pass it? I think we managed to get it down to about 40. And then we got it down to 30. And we probably got it down to about 25. And then it went back up to 30 and probably went back up to nearly 40. But somehow we managed to do it. And it was a challenge, but it was brilliant.
I mean, you could have missed some hidden gems there out of that many. But again, did really well. Yeah. And first season, in your opinion, how did that go back? With all the crowds here, you were getting 600, 700 people here. The away day is fantastic, as you know.
The crowd's been unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this in the 30-odd years that I've been here. So, my mum used to say, rest of her soul, she used to say, every disappointment sometimes is for a good. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can't see what the good is, and maybe the club folding, had to happen for it to be successful in the way it is now.
Well, like I said, that negative has been turned into a complete positive.
Exactly.
I mean, I used to come along to Droylsden with my dad, who's no longer with us, in the late 90s and the early 90s. And obviously I wasn't an avid fan as much as I am now. But things are changing, aren't they? And we've got this season, we're in the playoffs again. Yep. I mean, how realistic is it we're going to go up this time?
You know, what we do is we guide the young squad we've got, because they are a young squad. But if you look at the squad from last year, there's a lot of them that were here last year. You know, and what you say is every disappointment is kind of for a good, and we talk about course and distance. So course and distance for these laddies, you know, they were there. You know, credit to them last year. They were fighting on all fronts, 2 cups and the title, the league, you know, all the way up to the end. You know, and they've done really well. So we're hoping this year that stands them in good stead. Going back here, it's not the unknown. They've learned from last year, and we can go one better.
Fantastic season. I mean, how do you keep all the players on track? Obviously, these lads have got other careers outside of football. Yep. And it's probably one of your jobs to keep them disciplined, keep them on the one. How do you manage to do that?
Well, I've worked in a corporate environment for 35 years. You know, I've managed people within that environment. So they're all transferable skills. In terms of coaching badges, I've probably only got a level 2. But I've been on more coaching sessions about managing people, managing individuals in my lifetime working in the corporate environment. Yeah. So it's transferable skills that, you know, you use within the club now to manage these lads, you know. And to be honest, a lot of them in there, they could be my sons. You know, I've got a son of 33, you know, and one of 25, you know, so you kind of know the characters of what you're dealing with.
I mean, it sounds a bit cliche, but having that family environment does help, doesn't it? And you've got all these lads, and you see them at the end of a game with one. You can hear them banging on the walls, and it's a wonderful thing to hear and see.
It's brilliant, and we're not just here just to you know, have young players in and just have them do a job for us playing football. You know, we're here to support them. We support them, you know, while they're here. We support them when they're not here. You know, so we're like, I don't know, father figures for them, I think, you know, and we bring it in like a bit of a community, you know, with the players here.
But how do we keep the players here? We've lost a few. I mean, Nelson is one of our guys that's gone. Shaki went as well. Yeah. I mean, how do you actually get them to stay, maybe? Is there a certain thing you say to them to try and keep them here? Or
listen, the young lads, they're all ambitious. They all want to go and play higher. We've never, in all the years I've been here, I think we sent 50 plus players back into full-time football, you know, so back into the league. So we know we're a developing club, and we're not going to block players from moving on. You know, sometimes they make the move and it's not the right move because we play a particular style of football here. But, you know, sometimes they have to go and see that the grass isn't actually greener on the opposite side as well, you know. So a little heads up for you is Nelson's joining us back, you know. You know, we've had a chat. He's gone and he's had a little look, and the grass isn't always greener on the opposite side.
Come on, Nelson, let's have a look, yeah. I mean, he's a great attribute to the club. I'm glad if he is back. I believe one of our lads has gone to Wolves. Am I correct in speaking? Yeah.
I've heard rumours that one of the players who used to play here, who moved on, there's an interest from Wolves.
Right.
I don't know how true that is. I don't really.
Well, that's what I was asking you, because I've heard different things. I don't want to be sort of throwing this into the thing without not knowing. Anyway, so going to the business end of the season, I might put you on the spot here. Yeah. We've got these lovely little chitties here. We're going to put our first, second, third best players of the season. Whoa! Difficult for you to say. Am I putting you on the spot too much? Yeah. I know which my 3 are. Yeah. But have you got 3 in mind? Don't have to mention them if you don't want. I mean, they're all amazing players. You've got Killer, you've got Elvis, you've got Jordan in next. They're all absolutely amazing. Yeah. But I've got 3 that stand out for me. Have you got 3 that maybe stand out for yourself this season?
I've got a few, but I'm not going to tell you.
I know you're not. We can't do that. I just thought I'd put you on the spot there.
Yeah, I've got a few.
I mean, we are at the business end of the season. We're chasing down Nelson and Atherton. Obviously, we've got Holker Old Boys. We've got to sort them out today. And then we're away at Atherton on Tuesday. And the following week, we're away at Main Road with our final game here against Garstang. 4 wins, would that propel us any higher than second, do you think? Or is it a bit beyond us now, the league title?
I think what we're doing, we're preparing for 6 games. Not 5, 6 games. So, it's either we do it in 4 or we do it in 6. The target is to go up this year. The boys, I've told them, from a few months back that we're going to have, bumps in the road. I think we've had, some mini earthquakes.
We had the Bay Cup one, which in my opinion, the playing surface, shouldn't have been allowed that game, really. It was really, really dire.
But but we'll say it's the same for everyone. Same for both teams. But I think we're prepared. I think in the last few months they've grown together. I think the squad's got stronger. I think the confidence is there between the lads, and I think they're up for the challenge. But there's other teams obviously fighting for it as well as, and they're not going to lie down. Our job at this moment in time is just to keep putting the pressure on.
All you can do is win the games in front of you. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. It doesn't matter what Atherton are doing. It doesn't matter what Nelson are doing or Holker. We keep winning what's in front of us. You can't do any more.
Can't do any more than that at this particular stage, yeah.
I mean, your relationship with Dave, you can see that in the dugouts, is absolutely amazing. You seem to really gel well together. I presume it's like that pretty much most of the time.
Yeah, we've always abide by a couple of rules, We very rarely differ, in terms of team selection, style of play. We agree. The older the management team on board knows the style of play. So that isn't going to change. I remember times when we were struggling. We didn't have players. We were pulling them out of Sunday leagues, etc. But Dave says we're never going to change the way we play. We're getting battered, and still we wouldn't change the style of play. So the style of play remains.
Off. Yeah, I mean, suppose it's like using Ruben Amorim at Man United, who's just joined the club, and he's adamant he's not going to change his style of play. So exactly the same with yourself and Dave. So here's a hypothetical question. Where would you like to see Droylsden in the next 5 seasons? Where is realistic in your view?
Realistic for me, and because I know Dave, and even last year when we just came back, it was, we're going to win the league. People were saying, middle tables. No, the target is to win the league. So me knowing Dave, in 5 seasons, he's got to be looking back at the conference.
That'd be brilliant if we could get there. Anyway, you're a busy fella. You've got to get the lads ready for today's game.
Can I just a couple of call-outs for me, please? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've got a couple of people who help out within the team, and he never gets a mention. There's a guy called Leroy Bennett. He kind of helps us out in terms of recruiting players. He doesn't get a mention because he's got job commitments, so we never really see him here. But we talk on a regular basis, and he's in the background, helping the club out. And he's been doing that for the past 2 years. One supporter in particular I like to call out is a guy called Malcolm Tweedy.
Right.
And Malcolm he says he lives in a little village overlooking Morecambe Bay. And I started speaking to him at Garstang. Now, he was an old supporter from many years ago, and he actually caught the bug. So he caught the bug, following Droylsden around. And from Garstang, I've seen him at Route 1 Rovers away. And he's here every week, home and away now.
Didn't know that. Yeah.
So just a little call out for Mark. He's doing his match reports and stuff. And, we're talking over the social medias. Just wanted to call those 2 guys out.
Well, there are so many, the guys that do the ticketing, the guys that work behind the bar. Our good friend here, Loz and James, doing all the filming. It is a really thing.
You couldn't stop calling them out. There's that many. Yeah.
But we really appreciate the job you're doing here at Droylsden. I'm sure it runs through your blood, and hopefully in a month's time we'll have gone up and we'll be preparing for the next league above next season, starting at the end of July.
That's the plan.
And again, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate all your time. Thank you.